Welcome back to the deep dive. We're jumping into something really interesting today.
Yeah, we're looking at what it takes to lead generative AI projects, some core ideas.
Exactly. And we're using some specific source material to guide us. It's excerpts from a guide about a generative AI leader exam.
Right. Practice questions, explanations, that kind of thing. Gives us a good steer on what's considered important.
Think of this deep dive as, well, maybe a shortcut, getting you the key takeaways from these specific sources on Gen AI leadership. What these questions flag as need-to-know stuff.
hmm The material does mention the exam basics, web-based, 90 minutes.
Yeah, 50 multiple choice questions, 70% to pass, all in English. That sets the scene a bit.
But like you said, the real value for us here is digging into what those questions actually focus on, what challenges, what solutions the source thinks leaders need to grasp.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this material. It seems to kick off with a pretty foundational technical challenge.
Uh-huh. Especially vital and sensitive fields like healthcare.
Right. The scenario is a healthcare organization using Gen AI for patient diagnosis. And they absolutely need transparency. Regulations.
Yeah, high stakes.
Yeah.
So the problem is, how do you actually explain the AI's conclusion? How did it get there?
And what's the suggested technical fix, according to this source?
Well, it points straight at implementing model explainability features. That's the term they use.
Okay, explainability feature.
Right. And the source stresses, just using the model isn't enough when the stakes are high or there are rules to follow.
You need to be able to sort of look under the hood.
Exactly. To interpret, validate the outputs, understand the AI's reasoning, it's presented as non-negotiable for compliance and trust, really.
So it's not just about getting the right answer. It's about being able to show your work, basically.
Yeah,
Auditability, understandability.
precisely. Foundational stuff for trust, ethics, not just ticking a regulatory box.
Okay, got it. And building on that technical side, the source also seems to highlight real-time data, how crucial that is.
Yes, definitely. There's another question, this time about retail. A company wants its AI agent to give customers current info.
Like stock levels or prices that change, pulled from different internal systems.
Exactly that. The challenge is keeping the AI's answers fresh, not stale.
And I'm guessing the solution isn't just feeding it old reports.
No, definitely not. The key, according to the source, is integration with live enterprise data pipelines.
Live pipelines, okay.
Yeah. The explanation really hammers this home for AI in dynamic settings, like retail inventory. Just can't work off old data. It needs that constant up-to-the-minute feed.
Makes total sense. If you're asking an AI about stock for a customer, it needs to know what's actual on the shelf now, not yesterday.
Right. It shifts the AI from being just a generator based on past info to a dynamic current information source.
Okay, so we've got explainability and live data as key technical needs.
Yeah.
But the source also seems to move into more practical applications, right? How leaders use this tech.
Uh-huh. There's an interesting bit about speeding up product development, specifically UI/UX design, maybe in a startup.
Yeah, how can generative AI help most effectively there?
And the material focuses on a really creative use, generating user interface code and layout ideas directly from text prompts.
Wow, okay. So you just describe what you want.
Pretty much. The rationale given is all about the speed and efficiency gain. Imagine typing a description and getting back mock-ups, maybe even bits of working code.
That allows for really fast testing of ideas early on.
Exactly. Rapid iteration. It's a clear example of Gen AI as a productivity booster in that creative pipeline.
So leaders need to think beyond just, say, generating text. It's about accelerating actual design and development work, too.
It really can speed things up at the start. And kind of related to practical use, the source also talks about tailoring content globally.
Ah, the marketing angle. A team using AI for content in different countries, needing it to feel local.
Yeah, and this one's interesting because the solution highlighted isn't about tweaking the AI model itself, technically.
Oh, what is it then?
It's about the input. The source emphasizes using culturally aware prompt templates.
So it's more about how you ask the AI, crafting the instructions carefully.
Precisely. The idea is that different regions have their own ways of speaking, different cultural sensitivities, so you build prompts that already account for that.
Guiding the AI to generate stuff that actually resonates locally.
Right. It highlights that prompt engineering skill. It's more than just basic instructions. It needs nuance, cultural understanding.
That's a really great point. Leading effectively means knowing how to guide the AI towards these quite specific, subtle goals.
Hmm.
like making sure it doesn't sound weird in Japan, for example.
It's all about shaping the output through really thoughtful input.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The material also flags some bigger sort of organizational challenges for Gen AI leaders, like who actually owns this stuff enterprise-wide.
Yeah, that's a huge governance question. The source apparently lays out a few possibilities, maybe individual departments, maybe IT,
But it leans strongly one way.
very strongly, towards centralized executive leadership.
Okay. And why is that seen as so critical in the source material?
Well, the explanation basically says, for a successful enterprise-wide strategy, you absolutely need that strong central leadership from the top
Why, though? What's the reasoning?
to keep everything aligned with the company's main goals, mainly. Also, to make sure everyone's following the same rules for governance and ethics, which are changing all the time.
And I guess to stop different teams going off in random directions.
Exactly. Prevent fragmented efforts, duplication, maybe even conflicting AI projects popping up independently in different parts of the business.
So the source really frames leading Gen AI not just as tech projects, but as a core strategic thing.
Yeah,
Needs top-level direction to work properly across the board.
absolutely. Leadership, unified governance presented as must-haves. And connected to that, there's also a very practical security point the source brings up.
Right, I saw that. A scenario with Gen AI inside an HR system.
And the issue is restricting access, like AI generates employees' summaries, but only managers should see them. Sensitive stuff.
So how do you lock that down? What's the recommended approach?
The material points straight to using role-based access controls, RBAC.
Ah, okay.
Right.
Within the company's main identity systems,
Yeah,
like IAM.
exactly. Identity and access management. It's not about general network firewalls here, but about defining who gets to see what based on their actual job role.
So standard security practice
Yeah.
really just applied to the AI's output.
Precisely. The explanation highlights that protecting sensitive data in the AI outputs means ensuring only authorized users defined by role can get to it. RBAC within IAM is the standard, effective way to do that, keeps things secure, helps with privacy rules.
Makes perfect sense for handling sensitive info, a fundamental security layer for AI.
It's absolutely core, something you have to plan for if the AI touches anything confidential.
Okay. This deep dive was focused only on what these specific exam excerpts highlighted as important for a generative AI leader.
Definitely. So, considering that mix, you've got the technical stuff like explainability and real-time data, the practical nuances like prompt design for culture, and the big org challenges like governance and security. What does leading effectively in this space actually look like? It's constantly changing, isn't it?
It really is. And based just on these examples drawn from the source, what area feels like the most critical one to get a handle on first if you're stepping into this kind of leadership role? Maybe something for you to think about as you navigate your own journey with generative AI.